Hey Marvin, how are you?
Too bad. How you been, Gareth? What's been?
Yeah, good.
Oh, nice little backdrop you got there. You in Sutton now, is it? Or
Yeah. See, I blocked out my kitchen over there. I put a curtain up because my kitchen comes through and you see all my dirty plates. So
uh,
I'm getting professionally. I'm out. We're all rocking it down here in Sutton, mate. Don't you worry.
what's been happening, Gareth? How's life been treating you? What you been keep doing to keep you busy during the lockdown?
Oh well, I've been fairly fortunate. I didn't lose my job. I've been working at home since just before lockdown, actually. So I've kept my day job, and then yeah, the first week of lockdown, I was a little bit ill. I may have had the COVID. I'm not sure. It wasn't too bad, but so I was in isolation for a whole week and not going out at all. So that was a bit downish. But then yeah, then no, since then I've just been keeping busy, trying to keep fit. Done the odd online gig. In fact, I've done a few of them. I was a bit wary of doing them in the beginning, because they're a bit. I don't know. It's different. I mean, you've done some, hey Marvin, some online gigs,
Quite
like
a
Zoom
few.
gigs.
Yeah, quite a few.
Yeah.
I've not had anyone get their cock out or bloody strip in front of me, or any sort of what's it called, racism, or anyone saying God hates fags or anything like that. That's what that Thai woman, Kat.
Yeah, she was on my gig last. She was on my gig. I was on Anna Maria Deeg's gig last night. She was on that. Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing, isn't she?
Oh, but no. The problem was last night. I think if your technology is not good, it can be. I mean, touch wood. I haven't had a problem with my technology. My gigs have gone fine, but I know some like with her last night. Unfortunately, it must have been her internet connection because everybody else's was fine, but it kept on freezing and stuff. So yeah, it wasn't.
Ah, but she's bloody amazing, isn't she? She's very good.
Yeah,
She's like,
yeah.
just listen to her for five. You could listen to her just talk about anything, like doing a documentary in her voice and demeanor. You
Yeah, yeah. Some people just have that, eh? It's like, yeah, because I've got to be animated. I've got to, I've got to put some effort into it. Otherwise, I'll just talk all dull and bland like that. And yeah, no,
what's going on?
it's like, did you ever used to? Oh, it's a bit before your time, probably. Have you heard of a television show called The Wonder Years?
I've seen it actually with.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, well, getting back to that, like they always had that sign. Was it a science teacher? But he was like he had glasses and he spoke in a very dull, monotone voice. Do you remember that?
Uh, I've seen some episodes of it. I mean, I remember this one where one of the guys goes out of a woman with a big nose, and then they start taking the piss out of her. He doesn't see it, but then the other guy goes, "Oh, here comes the three of them," or whatever. And and then bloody yeah, she does this presentation about having a big nose, and he decides to dump her, and he decides, "Oh, I'm guilty now," and then she gets off with some other bloke, and
Oh,
it's a funny
which one?
story. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember that one. I mean, I haven't watched it since. I mean, because that was sort of late '80s, early '90s, but it was huge at the time. Well, I think with that little kid Fred Savage, he's done some work. I mean, because he's probably my age. I think he's my age because so he's an adult now. Yeah. Because there was a rumor, because there was Fred Savage, there was the kid with the glasses.
He looked a lot like Woody Allen.
Yeah, well, there was a rumor going around that he was Marilyn Manson, like, or that when Marilyn Manson came to prominence, that Marilyn Manson was Paul from the Wonder Years, but it was a total urban legend. It wasn't true. But there was the rumor going around, like, yeah, this is Marilyn Manson. This is what happened. This is what happened to the kid from the Wonder Years. So, yeah, but it's not true. But it was a big urban legend.
But it's this bit of a yeah. He's a bit bonkers, isn't he?
Oh, Marilyn Manson.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never really gotten to. I was never a big follower of his. That's sort of '90s, yeah. But I mean, yeah, some of the stuff that I've heard that he's done. I mean, didn't he once like take a dump on stage or something? Or I don't know. Well, yeah, I don't know. Apparently, that's what he did. And he's got that funny color eye, like that one eye's different color to the other one. And I mean, I'm assuming it's a contact lens, but then some people say he tried to poke his eye out. I mean, I don't know. It's probably all just made up stuff to, like, a bit of a controversy to, sell records and all that rubbish, eh?
It's I've seen a couple of podcasts with him as well. Well, one podcast with Mike Maron, I watched a bit of that. But
Oh, is that?
yeah, he's quite a creative man. I heard that he took parts of his ribs and then put it back together. Yeah, he's just an interesting person, and yeah, he's a bit like a vampire or something, isn't he? Some sort of
Yeah, man, he's something supernatural, eh? It's like, you probably have to invite him in, or I don't know, keep a cask of holy water and garlic at your door if you want him to stay out, eh?
exactly. So I want to ask you. What I do with the podcast is I like to find out everyone's story, because everyone's got a life story, and I want to sort of find out what's interesting, unique about each person I talk to. So, I mean, obviously, you're not from Scotland.
No. My late grandfather, ironically, was from Scotland. Yeah, and he moved to South Africa after the war. But yeah, no, I'm not Scottish.
No, that's quite. So you came back after the war. How did that happen?
Who, my grandfather? No. My late grandfather. He's actually he's my he's my step grandfather. So basically, my mother's parents got divorced when she was quite young, and then they remarried. Then my mother's mother, my grandmother, she remarried a Scotsman. But this was all before I was born. But so he was born and grew up in Scotland, and then he fought in the war the Second World War broke out when he was quite young. I think don't even think he was 20. He was maybe 19, 20, and then he fought in the war. And then I think after the war, he moved to South Africa. I don't know if there weren't a lot of jobs or things like that, and then, so that would have been in the late 1940s, and then just stayed. He was a builder. He had a huge building business in South Africa. Pretty much stayed there till from the late 1940s until his dying day, which was 10 years ago now. So yeah.
Yeah, like you in Britain, except the war part. Like you stumbled onto the UK and now you've decided to live here.
Yeah. Well, my story coming here was I originally came over here 1999, and I basically just came over for an overseas experience. Like a lot of people were doing it. I wasn't really doing much back home. I'd sort of 2 years before I'd had a job. I'd been made redundant, and then I'd always thought of coming, but I'd had cold feet, and then I was sort of just doing like jobs, waiting tables, and then then eventually I just decided to come over, and then so I came over, overseas experience for 2 years. Then I went back to South Africa, and just didn't work out, didn't enjoy it. Just it was mainly my job. I wasn't very happy in my job, and there wasn't a lot of options for somebody like me. Like I'm not degree educated, so and there's a lot of unemployment in South Africa. So then I just decided to come back, and that was in 2004, and then yes, I've been here ever since 2004. So it's pretty much home now.
Well, one thing that is a bit, I don't really know about degrees as whole, because if I had this is a question I asked you as well. Yeah. If I had the choice of going back to when I was 18 or 19 and doing a degree, I'll probably not do it, because it's like people just do a degree just for the sake of it. Oh, your parents say if you get a degree, I hope you get a good job, and that's it. But the thing is, if you don't give someone a clear idea of what they want to do, then it's just like they're just doing it for the sake of it, and they're just going to be lazy with it. And what's the point?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, look, if I'd gone back, I wouldn't have done anything differently. I mean, because that was the thing. When I was 18, I left school, and I had no clue what I wanted to do with my life. I just and it's sort of been like most of my life's been like I've sort of, I think through time I've discovered more of what I don't like, and that's sort of drawn me to what I do like, if that makes any sense. But but getting back to your original question, I think I think if you're going to go do a degree, if you know what you're going to, if you have a clear idea what you're going to do, and it's going to lead you onto a good career path, then
Yeah,
fine, do it. But if you're just going to do it, I mean, I suppose, look, some people say it's good to go to university, get a university experience. But I mean, okay, if you can afford that, if you've got parents who can afford
yeah,
that, then fine. But I mean, on the other page, I mean, I was at school with a guy who, I mean, he was like one of these. He was like a golden boy, you know. He was very good at sport, very intelligent guy. But I mean, and then he went to university, and I think he dropped out of two or three because he got there, and I think he didn't apply himself. So you know, it's yeah. I mean, there are no guarantees in life with anything. But you know, I agree. I mean, like, and also with my parents, my parents are both, well, they're retired teachers now, but they've also, my dad especially, he's always said to people, like, people have this big thing of, you must go to university, you must do that, and it's like,
yeah.
well, no, everybody's different, you know. What's good for one person isn't good for the other. So yeah.
It's a load of baloney about it. It's the thing. Yeah. So you're from, is it Cape Town?
No, my family all live in Cape Town now. I grew up, well, I moved around a lot in South Africa, but mainly the area is called the Eastern Cape. So it's basically like the eastern part, like the East Coast. So the I spent most of my time in a place called East London, of all places. And that's where I did most of. Where I was in high school. I lived there for about 10 years, and then I also spent a lot of time in Port Elizabeth, southeast coast. But yeah, whenever I go on holiday, I always go to Cape Town. Like, my my mother and father there, my sister and her husband are there, and basically anybody's left in South Africa, everybody wants to be in Cape Town. It's you know, it's the golden city. You know, if I ever went back to South Africa, that's where I'd go. I wouldn't go bother going to where I grew up. You know, I'd go to Cape Town.
So how does I did a bit of research in South Africa because I was watching what's it called, Simon Kane's podcast, and he have you heard of it? There's a big comedy festival in Cape Town, the Cape Town Comedy Festival.
I know Cape Town's where that's pretty much the comedy scene in that's pretty much where the comedy scene is in
Oh,
South Africa. I mean, well, there. I mean, look, you're limited in South Africa. It'll be mainly Cape Town. I think there might be a bit in Johannesburg, but I know yeah. I've never been. Truth be told, I've never been to Johannesburg. But yeah, the, the the better acts are in Cape Town. I mean, I suppose if you wanted to put it this way, if you're in South Africa and you wanted to make it big in comedy, you'd probably go. Well, if you wanted to make it big anywhere in South Africa, you know, within the arts, then it would be Cape Town or Johannesburg.
okay. And so you spent your time in many different places, but what was your childhood like, and what do you think's led you to doing comedy as a whole?
Okay, so first of all, on my childhood. Okay, so yeah, childhood. It was the fairly standard childhood. I mean, I'd start school when you're about 6 or 7. I was 7. I started school a little bit later than everyone else. And then you finish school when you're 18. Yeah, both my parents were teachers, so yeah, I wouldn't say it was a like, because a lot my dad has a big reputation in education for being a disciplinarian. So you know, people say like, oh, your dad must have given you the whole sergeant major thing, and it's like, no, not really. But he was. I mean, he had his boundaries. Where, I mean, I know some parents, you see it a lot today, and even back then, some parents would, like, you know, they let things slide with their kids, whereas my parents weren't really like that. I mean, they were good, they were open, but they were also fair. You know, there was also aligned. So yeah, no, I grew up. I wasn't a lot of kids are very, you know, sporty in South Africa. They play rugby, cricket. I played a bit, but I actually I wasn't very good. Or actually, no, put it this way: when I was small, apparently, well, I remember this. I used to, like, my dad taught me how to bowl for cricket, and I could bat and I could do everything. So I used to do this all the time. But then, when I was about 5 or 6, I think I lost interest and I watched a lot of TV. and so like my sporting ability went, and I just wasn't really interested. So yeah, I wasn't very sporty. I played, but I didn't have that natural ability, you know. So I didn't play first team rugby. I played like sixth team, and I was more just a participant. So yeah, so I went through high school. Then I didn't know, as I said, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life when I was 18. So by chance, there were very few jobs going, and then I saw this job to become a merchandiser for a company, which is basically what they did was that they sold products like various grocery products, like say baking powder and sweets into supermarkets. And then my job would be to go in and get there once the stock was in the supermarket, get it on the shelves and stuff like that. And the main path in that was to become like a sales rep, which I eventually got. I became a sales rep to another company, and then I got made redundant. And then, yeah, long story short, then I came over here, went back to South Africa as a sales rep, paid sales, came back here, and then, yeah, so that was 2004. I came back here, and then getting into comedy. That was, yeah, it was never my intention to become a comedian as such. What actually happened? It, it was a two-sided thing, really. Uh, I went on at work. They offered training on public speaking. So you get a day out of the office and you go do there's this training course, and there were five of us on this. So it was quite nice. And there's a lady, she was very good. She taught us, she gave us tips on how to speak in public, all that sort of thing. And so at the end of this day, we all had to do a presentation on just on anything, but you had to, you know, she gave you a body on how to prepare speech, and you had to prepare something. So I remember at the time I was yeah, because it was 2011 actually. So at the time there was the Rugby World Cup on, and I'm a big rugby fan, and I was thinking I could talk in the Rugby World Cup, but then like nobody's really going to be able to relate it because I'm the only rugby fan. And so then I'd watched a movie 2 days before with Russell Crowe. So I basically just gave a review on this movie with Russell Crowe. And I think I opened with a joke. Well, it wasn't intended to be a joke, but I said, look, what I did on my Sunday night, I watched this movie with Russell Crowe, which surprisingly I enjoyed because I don't really like Russell Crowe. And then people laughed a bit. And then the lady said to me, she said, oh, she gave me feedback. She said, you know, looking at you, I could see you have a bit of a joker side, but I could see you, it was almost like you were doing a movie review. And, you know, that's what I had of you in my head, that you were on this TV show reviewing this movie. And it got me thinking, oh, and I was looking at new ways to occupy myself in my spare time, because I'd come to yeah, I think I'd come to a bit of a crossroads in my life where I was looking at how I was spending my time, and also like about myself, because like I have my job, and I enjoy my job. It pays the bills and all that, but it's not really me. It's something I do, but it's not really, you know, it's it's not something I want put on my gravestone. You know, it's like not it's not it's a part of my life, but it's, yeah. I just thought I needed something else outside of that, you know, just going out and then getting drunk with the boys, you know, that's, yeah, can't do that forever. And then I also read something. I was also reading. You've heard of Tony Robbins?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, I like him. He's not too bad, but I would never ever. I don't think I'd ever go on those like 15,000 seminar things. I think that's ridiculous.
Oh no, I wouldn't with any of these guys. I mean, that's just a cash cow for them. No, I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, you spend. I mean, I've seen. I won't mention his name, but I've seen this one comedian who promotes it a lot now. I think who's been in a lot of those, which fine. Each to his or her own. But no, I read his book. And it's amazing. His book. It was quite an old book, so it was read. Would have been written in the late 80s, but just his perspective on how you can basically change your whole mental attitude. And then I was reading a lot of like these the equivalents of Tony Robbins, and a lot of these guys are like, and I think I read one podcast. I think it was it was actually one of these. I was also reading a lot of these, like sort of just watching the lot of, you know, you get these pickup artists. There's a community of them.
Yeah.
The main thing was started by a guy called Neil Strauss, who wrote a book called The Game, and he talks about how to speak to women, how to be more confident, And I remember watching one of these pickup artists stories, and he said if you want to be more confident, just generally confident speaking to people, he said do an improv course or do a comedy class. And I'm like, what? A comedy? Like, do they teach that? And then as I said, I'd had this class this course like a few days before, and I thought, so I googled comedy class, and yeah, this thing came up like. It was, and so yes, so I signed on this comedy class just to do something for 10 weeks, and the whole thing. I mean, I don't know if you've been on one of them, but a lot of them, this one was you do it for 10 weeks, and then at the end you could do a showcase if you wanted to, like in a safe environment where everybody invites family and friends. And I thought, no, I'll definitely do that. And then the more I did it, I thought, no, I'd like to, yeah, I think I'd like to try this comedy thing. I think what I've discovered about myself is I love performing. I like the spotlight. I think I always have liked it, but I've been too afraid to do it, particularly when I was younger. I was very self-conscious. I was very self-conscious, and I wasn't very confident as a child. I was very like. I mean, I think I'm still quite self-confident, but I was very, yeah. And so it wasn't something I'd do. Like we used to have school plays and stuff, but it also wasn't really pushed at school. I went to an all-boys school, and so you were either a rugby player or an academic. Not many guys did plays or sang or anything like that. Whereas, yeah, I think that's something I would have liked to have done. So deep down, I think since I've done this journey of comedy, I've realized that I do like the performing part of it. I mean, you get me now. If I go out now, it's like 10 years ago, you'd never catch me doing karaoke. Whereas now I'm the first one, karaoke bar, I'm the first one on that stage, man.
Mm. Comedy's a great thing. I don't know what I'll do. I think I think a lot of us, we don't know what we would do with that. It also takes a lot, but it also gives a lot as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Do.
Definitely. No, it's been a good journey. I mean, yeah. I mean, I mean, as you know, it has its ups and downs. I mean, there have been times like where well, not so much now, but early on where you do it, and you have a few bad gigs, and you think, God, do I really want to carry on doing this? I think I'm at a point now where I just enjoy doing it, even the bad gigs. I think the one thing after a while, I know I found you definitely become a little bit more bulletproof. So, I mean, the bad gigs hurt, but you laugh them off easy, and it's like, well, that's happened. Move on to the next one.
Yeah, yeah. I do miss it actually. I miss being on stage and doing it at the moment. I mean, the Zoom
Yeah.
gigs do replace it to a degree, but they're not the same.
Oh man, they definitely. I found the Zoom gigs very difficult in the beginning because I like to, when I get on stage, I like to interact with the audience. Particularly for me, I find if I interact with the audience, it also helps me settle my nerves, and then I can gauge the room quickly, and it enhances my performance. Where it's very difficult to do that in a Zoom gig. I've sort of found a balance on how to do it, but it is very different and difficult. So yeah, no, man, I do miss a live audience.
I think. Well, I spoke to a comedian. She's been helping me out a bit. Maybe you probably know her, or you know her name anyway. But you know Elf Lyons.
Yeah. She's been running. I think I see something on Facebook because she's been running courses or something.
Yeah. I've been doing her what's it called, clowning and comedy mentor once, and she seems all right. She's given me a few pointers. I think you maybe did this as well with the writing and this and that. And she says that a lot of us are too restricted, and we need to be more open and like just go through like I don't want to say too much because it's a course.
Yeah. Of course.
But yeah, the gist of the course is that, well, what she said to me so far is that you got to get more out of yourself. Don't put this sort of shield up. And if you go through the story of it, then it's easier to talk about. And I think I think that's fine. If you go through the story of it rather than try and be funny, it's a lot easier.
Yeah. I mean, I did a course. I mean, because I did the first course before I did stand up, and then a couple of years later, Alfie at We Are Funny, he ran a comedy course, and I'd been performing for how long? think it was beginning of 2014. So I'd been going about 2 years, but I'd hit a point where I'd been doing a character act for a year, which had been good, but I'd hit a sticking point, and then obviously, I mean, look, he seriously started coming on his course, and I thought, well, I've got nothing to do, and it was run by a lady called Cynthia Levine, American lady, and it was good because all she did with us was she made us get up, and she just made us speak about stuff, and I mean, a lot of the time I just got up and I just had like I'd rants about stuff, and then people were laughing, and she said, like, that's what you've got to do. You've got to let when you're on stage, you've got to let that aspect of your personality come out. You know, you just got to,
Yeah.
but it's difficult to sometimes just do that on the spot. You've got to like sort of tap into it. But I think I think I'm getting there where you try and find a way to tap into your character, as it were.
Hmm. But yeah, that's the thing. It makes it easier because if you're doing the other stuff, you get a bit more tense. But if you're being yourself more, but then again, I haven't yet developed the bits that I've worked with her yet. I haven't tested them out yet, so I have to see. It's a bit like when you do, I don't know, you do a course in being a web developer or something. You don't know unless you've tested it out to see if it works or not. Or,
Yeah.
but she seems all right. One thing I didn't like. One thing I don't like about. She's all right. She's a nice girl. She seems, from what little I know of her, I mean, you can't judge someone from 2 or 3
Yeah,
meetings, but she
yeah,
seems all right. But the only thing I don't like about the meeting is she really pushes to try and get inside, like, you. Wait a second. That's
like in what sense?
like, like she really tries to get to know what's inside yourself, like in details and like personal, so she can work with you a bit.
Okay,
Again, that's
yeah.
sounding like.
No, but I know what you mean, because I know when we like sometimes when you go on these, like I've done like the odd improv workshop and stuff, and like yeah, you do feel a bit sometimes. I know, because I think like I said, I was talking about being self-conscious earlier, but you do yeah, you always find, like, because when they ask you to do stuff, you do feel like you're a bit under the spotlight, and you're putting yourself out there, so it can be a bit. I think I can sort of relate to what you're saying.
I mean, I'm okay with an audience doing stuff, but it's just I'm a bit. To be honest, I'm always nervous of other comedians, like of being too open and too, what's it called? Yeah, comedians. I'm always a bit careful. Watch out a bit. It's a bit. Well, it's
Oh,
just
what
the
you
way it is in showbiz. Yeah. People, I'm a bit wary of a lot of comedians, so it's a bit. It's the way comedy is, though, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I suppose you don't really have those you don't really have those close relationships with them, so it's not like your friends or your family, is
Yes,
it?
yes,
So yeah,
yes. That's the thing. I mean, what's it called? Yeah, I mean, I don't. I'd say there's a good number of. There's about number of people that I've got a good relationship with. Like I like you, I like Jack, and I like Gatz's Candice and Shabon Kazim and a few other comics. But apart from that, you get a bit cautious of the other of whoever's there. It's always that sort of.
yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah. Well, it's like it's like that anyway. It's like it's because in that sense, it's like a job. It's like when in the office environment. I mean, I know, like I know with me, there's some people I'm more open with than the others. You know, where other people you maybe a little more guarded. So yeah.
Yeah, I was a bit. That's the thing that got me. That's getting me a bit nervous about her because she's pushing you to, and I don't like doing that at all. I really don't. It's yeah. But it's interesting so far. She's given me a few pointers. Yeah, and the lockdown's been interesting. It's how have you found lockdown as a whole, and like how have you? So you've kept yourself busy, and you're still working as well, which is quite interesting because you're doing it all from home, aren't you? So
I'm doing it all from home, which, to be honest, is fine. It's actually, I haven't. I was always wary about working. 'Cause I used to work from home 1 day a week anyway. Uh, but I was always wary. I always thought to myself I couldn't do work from home more than 2 days a week. But it's actually been fine. I mean, I can get my work done. I can be a little bit more I mean, my boss is good. He's he's very flexible. So I mean, I generally, I get up and I work from about 8 to 4, 9 to 5. But if I need to pop out to anything, then or do something else, then then I just make my hours up, as and when.
mm,
So So the lockdown's been good. I've been lucky. I think just the first week was a bit. I think the first week I was sick. I wasn't badly sick, but because the guidance was you don't go out at all, so I wasn't even going out for the hour walk. So for like a whole 7 days, and you turn. And the one thing I did learn is don't watch the news too much, because especially in the beginning, all the news, all you saw was COVID-19. So, and if you have to watch the news the whole day, it's just depressing. So, yeah, at least it's gotten a bit better now. So, yeah, generally, I've kept myself busy. I've tried to. I mean, the gym's been closed, but I've tried to exercise anyway, go on walks. Yeah, I mean, I think it was only about a month in. It got to, because I always had it in my head, if we had a lockdown, in my head it was always lockdown would be at least 3 months. I just that's the way I saw it. Everybody's saying, oh, we'll see what happens in 3 weeks, but I just thought, I mean, my mentality was lockdown will be at least 3 months, because there's no point in locking down if you only do it for, especially the way the numbers of the cases were rising at the time. I just didn't see them getting that peak down in less, in like 3 weeks. So I always had in my head, we'd probably be locked down for at least 3 months. So I was fine with it. I'd built it up in my head, but then a month in, I think my grandfather passed away, so I think that sort of hit me a bit. And then, but it was only for about like a couple of days, and then I think I dealt with that, and then since then I've been fine. Yeah, I mean, there's some things I miss, but generally it's okay. But I've been fortunate, as I said. I haven't lost my job, which I think would be difficult if I didn't have a job and I was worrying about that. So yeah, so I'm grateful for that.
I feel for the comedians that are full-time comedians. I feel for them.
Definitely.
If they haven't got if they're not big and they haven't got a good following online and all that, I mean, it's a struggle.
Yeah. I mean, no. It's just, I mean, yeah. But I mean, there are all sorts of like occupations out there. I mean, you think of like tradesmen and stuff. It's just, yeah, there are loads of them. So that's why I do. Yeah, I mean, that's why everybody has an opinion about this. That's nothing. Try and stay off Facebook and Twitter, but that's why I think they need to try and get the economy. I mean, it looks like that's what the government's doing. I mean, everybody's criticized, which I mean, I think the government should. I mean, the government will come in for criticism. They haven't gotten everything right, but I suppose looking back, how do you get everything right? But I think I think they are trying to slowly get the economy back moving, which I think is a good thing. I think we need to take that. We need to take that chance. Because I mean, living like this, it's not. I don't see it as sustainable, like economically, and I think just socially and everything. We need to try and. I mean, hopefully, we learn more about this disease, and we can just, live with it. I think, and just.
What's going to happen though? I mean, there's people saying that the comedy gigs are only going to start till next year, probably.
Yeah. Well, that's what that's what they've been saying. But I mean, it is quite interesting. I was watching a bit of the news today. I mean, I saw there's one restaurant. It's one of these posh ones in central London. In fact, I think I wrote the name down here somewhere. What are they called? Portico. I mean, I've never heard of them. I mean, it's somewhere in the West End or Kensington. I mean, I'm never going to be eating there. I think that's what it's called. I made a note to the name, but I mean, apparently they had an interview with the guy, with the director there, and he just said, "We're opening on the 4th of July." It's like they're not waiting for government, and I think. And it sounds like that I was hearing a lot of. They mentioned another pub chain. I don't know which one. That said they're opening on 4th of July. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I was also thinking comedy gigs might only start sort of next year, but I was thinking maybe only pubs would open in September, October. But if some of them are pushing for them to be open in July, maybe, who knows? I mean, maybe we'll get comedy going sooner. But I mean, I suppose we don't know, do we? But and I'm trying to look at things glass half full. I think you have to.
Yeah, it's good. Well, things are better than they were. I mean, considering what happened with the riots and the protests and everything going together, things could have been a lot worse. Like they could have gotten a fight or fought each other last week, and then yeah, things could be so much worse, even though they are bad. Well, they were bad, but they're better now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know isn't there another protest tomorrow? So I just hope. Yeah, I don't think the government handled those protests very well. Yeah, but what's done is done. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a bit. I just yeah, I wish those protests happened at another time. Though that's all.
What you mean with the COVID?
Yeah,
Well, I don't know. Somebody may, a lot of people may take this the wrong way, but the thing with the protests, okay, they're done now. But what they might, what we may find out in 2-3 weeks is if the so-called herd immunity has worked, because you had all those people out there. If that infection rate doesn't go up, then maybe herd immunity is taken black. So maybe in some ways, I mean, looking at a negative that could potentially, if you're looking at it from a scientific point of view, it might turn out to be a positive. If you, and it's a very warped way of putting things, but yeah, I don't know.
well, yeah, that's what I think. I think maybe that's happened already because like it hasn't been being handled pretty well here. So probably loads of people have been affected that didn't know about it. That's
Well,
what
that's the thing. I reckon loads of people have had it and they don't know about it. And I mean, I've been watching various podcasts, and yeah, I mean, I saw one guy. I think he was the guy from Sweden. And I mean, Sweden got a lot of criticism because they didn't lock down. But he was saying he reckons with the figures, like, yeah, in the UK they're saying there are thousands of us that have had it. He reckons it's probably millions. And there's also other studies where there was one guy, he looked at the infection rates in London compared to the rest of the UK, and obviously the numbers in London are higher than other parts of the UK, which they would be because there are a lot more people and it's a lot more densely populated, but the rate of infection is lower. And he said that's actually quite strange, because you would think with London, the numbers should be high with all the people. So he says that with that infection rate being the way it is, that might be an argument to say that this herd immunity has taken place, or somehow we've developed immunity, or we're adjusting to the virus. So yeah. So,
yeah.
but I mean, nobody knows for sure. I think there's so much they don't know.
Well, there's people saying that this thing may never go away because it may
Well,
be like
yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's what I think. I mean, what disturbs me is you look on the TV and they're saying like, "Oh, we won't do anything until we get a vaccine." We may never get a vaccine. I mean, I don't think they've ever. I mean, I think the quickest vaccine they ever developed, I think, was mumps. Apparently, I may have my facts wrong, and that took 4 years. And yeah, I think if we, I don't think, I don't think we should be waiting for a vaccine.
Yeah.
I mean, and also, personally, I mean, I'm not an anti-vax at all. I mean, in South Africa, we probably get more vaccines than anyone in the world. I mean, we've been vaccinated against everything, like, so I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I would be wary if tomorrow they said they've got a vaccine. I mean, I don't know about you, but would you trust that? I mean, a vaccine,
No.
what I know about it's a very fine process. I mean, because basically what they're taking the thing that's making you sick, or the virus, and injecting it back into you, or something very similar. So you've got to get that process very. So I mean, so yeah, so I mean, if they get a vaccine, fine. But I mean, I don't know. I don't want a rush job. I mean, because yeah, they're just potentially problems there. So yeah, it worries me that people are personally that they're talking about, everything hinges on getting a vaccine. I think we need to try and look past that. We need to
Yeah.
maybe we need to test people more. We need to see how different people react to it. And yeah, I mean, because if some people have had it and they don't even know where they had it, then I mean, that's a good thing. That means, that maybe that means we, like a lot of us, are immune, and then we just got to find a way to, to shield the vulnerable people, or yeah, just find a solution around the virus instead of, waiting for it to go away.
So it's going to prevent a lot of pulling on a Saturday night out.
Oh, definitely, mate. Definitely. Yeah, that's all gone. Yeah, freaking old Tinder and Match.com, their subscriptions have gone up, haven't they?
It's yeah, but it's going to be yeah. It's I think maybe that sort of estimate of comedy clubs starting in next year is a bit much. I think it'll probably start a bit sooner, but not a lot. I think maybe September, October might be a more accurate time of when comedy
Yeah,
start up again.
yeah. I think it all depends on the pubs and stuff. I think that's I mean that's key. Pubs. Yeah, if they get the pubs and things open, then yeah, and if that goes well, then yeah. I mean, because I mean, if the pubs are going and there's no social distancing, then you may as well have a comedy night, man. I mean, why not? Yeah, I would like to think a lot of the pubs would be screaming for that sort of stuff. They might try and get the punters in.
What's going on with New Zealand? I don't know. They said that they defeated the virus, and then 2 people came in and they've got it.
Yeah, no, yeah, because yeah, I was actually chatting. I've got mates in New Zealand, so we chat. We have like a call in once a month, and then we've got like a Viber chat. So we chat almost, if not every day, every second or third day. Yeah, they got rid of. My understanding, they got rid of the virus, and then I think it was the 2 people from the UK that got in because that was the big thing.
Yeah.
I saw the headline that Jacinda Ardern, she's got the army in to defend the borders or something. But because that's the thing, I think from what I understand, their borders are still technically closed. Everything's open. There's no social distancing. I mean, they even had they started their rugby tournament last week, and they weren't to there were full crowds, and there was no wasn't like with the football and in Australia the rugby league where it's behind closed, there's no spectators. In New Zealand I mean I watched footage, they had full houses. So but I think so everything's back to normal, but their borders are still closed. But now, yeah, I don't know what's happening now these 2 people have gotten in, and yeah, so I don't know what they'll do. But I mean, it's only if it's 2 people and they've isolated them, then yeah, it should be okay. I would have thought, but I suppose you don't know how many people they've infected.
To be honest, I want to be an illegal immigrant now, and I want to go to New Zealand. I want to go over like on a boat into New Zealand at the moment.
New Zealand, why? Because they don't have the corona.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you probably imported in there, Marvin. I mean, Jacinda's got the army on the borders. She probably got like she's probably built Trump's wall on the coastline. Oh yeah, you ain't getting in there, mate.
Oh, oh no.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, yeah.
But there are some places that recovered, like Hawaii is recovered. Apparently, I had a weird request. I wanted to do an online gig there, and they said I could come there and what's it called, do a
Oh,
gig
wow.
there and like headline there. And they said, oh, I could maybe stay in the place for a bit, but I'd have to hide a bit because the government.
Freaking Trump, it's part of America, bro.
Yeah, so that's what she said, and I thought, well, that's a nice offer, and I was tempted there, but the thing is, I ain't got no money to go over there.
Yeah. But I mean, I wonder what's the population of Hawaii is. It must be quite small because it's an island. So I'd imagine it would be like New Zealand. Because I mean, a lot of people have said like, oh, Jacinda Ardern's done a very good job. And look, they have done a good job. But people also remember New Zealand. Okay, it's smaller than the UK, but there's also only 5 million people, so it's pretty easy to, well, comparatively, compared to a place like the UK. UK is one of the most difficult places to stop because it's a small island. Plus, I mean, it was 60 million people. I imagine Hawaii. Hawaii's probably also only got a population of. I wouldn't know. I mean, probably got a very small population. So probably a place like that, it's probably if you've got good infrastructure and good medical equipment. If you're not like third world and you've got modern technology, they'd probably eradicate it very quickly there.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I find quite. I think there's a few other places as well. Well, actually, no. I did a Google search, and there's quite most of the places that don't have it are all islands. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's it's I don't know. It's yeah. You're right. It took 4 years to create a vaccine, so we just got to be able to deal with it, and things get back to normal. And like, yeah, just take the risk, really, isn't it? So there'll be nightclubs, stuff like that, but people
Yeah,
wearing masks or something.
yeah. I'll dress. I'll do what I want to do is I want to dress up in a Darth Vader suit and have an entourage of stormtroopers. Going to the supermarket like that, that'd be classic. I love that.
That should happen.
Yeah. No, but I wonder if we won't. I think, I mean, I'm no virologist, but what I think will eventually happen is I think we'll just adjust to it. We'll adjust to it, and it'll probably eventually just go away, die out. I don't know. Maybe that's just the optimist in me. I don't know. As I said, I'm trying to look at things glass half full.
So what I want to ask is, I mean, why is the UK? Yeah, well, you said before, because I mean, how's South? What would you? So you said how? What's it called? This question I want to get at is, how would you say South Africa are dealing with the virus at all, and how would you say other what makes the UK? Why? So you said because it's so densely populated in a small island, but what else would you say is the reason for the UK being
What,
so?
having high levels? I think that's the main one. I mean, I haven't really been following the numbers in South Africa, but I don't think officially they're not that high. But South Africa also, it's South Africa's 4 times the size of the UK, and it's 60 million people. So I think it might be less people in the UK. It's about 50 million people. It's similar population, but it's 4 times the size. So you've got a lot more open space. Also, a lot of South Africa is very impoverished. So I reckon also a lot of people in South Africa have probably got it. They don't know they've got it. I mean, in the townships, there's no social distancing. I mean, those are poor area. I mean, COVID-19 is the least of their problems. I mean, they've got, you got people in like abject poverty. So yeah, I mean, I think their numbers are still quite high, but I mean, they also had quite a hectic lockdown. I mean, when they had a lockdown, they weren't allowed to go out at all, not even for exercise, a cycle. They could go out for shopping, I think, once a week. I mean, the other thing they did was that they closed down liquor stores and cigarettes, like cigarettes and alcohol were banned. I mean, I think alcohol, they a couple of weeks ago, the sale of alcohol, but you still can't buy cigarettes. So they had quite a hectic lockdown, but I don't know if it helped much. But yeah, the numbers are still quite low, but I don't think they haven't done anything. They haven't done anything differently to us, and they don't have a national health service. A lot of people have private health care in South Africa. I mean, there is public health, but it's not. I mean, generally, if you can afford to have private health, you will. I mean, I've never. I mean, I never used state health. We used to have like an insurance system. Like you would get like a lot of, they would call it medical aid. So basically, often when you apply for a job in South Africa, you'll see what the benefits are. And if one of them is medical aid, that you always go for it, because so that your medical can be paid by your company.
So yeah, so I have a feeling that, like, especially with China, I think some of the figures are definitely being misconstrued. I think there's
What do you think? They're more or they're less?
more. I think within a lot of countries,
Well, yeah. I mean,
it's a lot worse than what it actually is.
well, I mean, China's it's almost like I mean, I don't know I mean, I only follow what I hear. I mean, are you of Chinese descent, Marvin?
Half.
Yeah, so one of your parents is from China, but I mean, China's, I know it's a communist state, but there's a lot of control, isn't there? I mean, you don't have you don't have the freedoms you have, yeah, of what I've been told. So I mean, they can. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be unfair of me to say I wouldn't think that it would be easier for them to distort figures there than it would be to do it here.
Mm.
Would that be correct, or am I barking up the wrong tree?
Perhaps but I don't know. I don't because it's so controlled, and there's I get the feeling that you can't always trust what they say or do. And I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens when this is all over to China as a result of this crisis.
Yeah, well, it sounds like, I mean, don't we still need them? We get, I mean, I don't know, like my phone's a Huawei, so like when I upgrade, I'll probably change back to a Samsung. But I don't know. Yeah, I suppose what's happened with that 5G deal that the government signed? I don't know, with Huawei. I don't know. It sounds like, but I mean, if we do pull out of China, it's probably going to be. Can we pull out of China? I mean, I don't know. Like, because we do so much business with them, it sounds like we've. It's probably a lot of the Western world that probably made the mistake. But I mean, that was also the big thing when Trump came in, isn't it? He was trying to pull out of China and create more industry in the US to give jobs back to America. I think that's what his big aim was. So yeah, possibly. It's interesting what you say, because I was listening to, I can't remember who said it, but they were saying, somebody said we have to be careful, because obviously now a lot of people saying, oh, you know, China started this thing, we need to punish them. But they say you've also got to be potentially careful, because I know what happened in World War One. I don't know if you know the history of World War One, but when it ended, they had the Treaty of Versailles, and they had all the delegates. I mean, from the world, but I mean the four big ones were Britain, France, and I can't remember what the other ones were, but because they were the big four. Does Britain, France, America, and then who's the other one? I can't remember, but yeah, and their whole thing, they discussed what would happen in Germany, because Germany basically started the First World War. What what they would do to Germany, and I think some of the consensus was we should just, we should forgive and forget. But then I think France, they pushed like, no, we got to punish Germany. We got to, and I think they made them pay war debts, and then yeah, so they basically, I mean, I think the famous quote was, we must make it, we must squeeze them till the pips squeak. We must really be brutal in the way we punish them. And they attribute a lot of the rise of Hitler to that, because when he came into power, his whole thing, he built on this whole thing of nationalism, and he
Yeah.
said, like, this is what the rest of the world's done to us. And I think that's why when Second World War ended, they didn't punish. Well, obviously Germany got split, but I think a lot of the allies, they put a lot of money into Europe and into West Germany. So as I say, you got to be potentially. I never thought of it that way, but you got to be potentially, be careful with China, if we go on this route of, sort of wanting to punish them.
That's true. It's yeah, it's going to be a whole different world. I mean, it's in one of the podcasts, I interviewed a psychic. I thought it'd be funny and interesting.
Oh
She's
yeah,
she's a comedian as well. You probably know her, but she's a lovely
yeah. Okay.
woman. But it was a bit. She says that this whole thing, what's it called? So the virus will probably end soon, but the worst of it's going to be in 2022, and it's not going to recover till things are going to be fully. There will be a whole new world. It'll be nicer and better in 2024, and like there'll be a lot of people dead, but it'll be like a whole transformation. People are going to be nice and all that. But I don't know what to say. It's interesting to see things from what's it called, the what psychics think, because I want to see another point of view.
So what did the psychics say is going to happen in 2022? What, there's going to be more deaths, or the world would only recover from this in 2022?
She's just said that there's things are going to be at the worst, like in terms of humanity and all that, and like I don't know.
Okay.
She just said something very bad's going to happen around that time.
Oh, because I heard a thing, they're going back to you. You've heard of Nostradamus, haven't you?
Yeah,
Yeah. So everybody, I mean, because I remember we used to, when I grew up as a kid, like in the 80s and early 90s, we used to always, I mean, everybody said that he predicted Saddam Hussein and all that, which I don't think he had. I mean, because the way he used to word things, they can have so many different meanings. And they said 9/11, he predicted that. But it's like, well, I don't know. It's like, I mean, you could, the way it's worded, you could probably say that, because he said, one of his famous quotes was that the, the, the chief of terror will strike fire from the sky. So then people say, oh, that was 9/11. But I mean, I don't know. It could have been I don't know, a volcano, or it could have been anything. But so now I heard they're talking about, they're looking at all these Nostradamus quotes again. So yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
I was quite easily sold on it when I was younger, but I look back on it now and I'm like, I don't know.
But she did say to me that, you know, she could be wrong, like with predictions
Yeah,
of timing. So it's a bit, yeah. I mean, being some, yeah, I don't know. With a lot of things, certain things like motivation or being a psychic, or as you said with Nostradamus, they can easily twist things and not give an exact thing.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, it's just because they just. I mean, I don't know how psychics do it, what they see or what they do, but it's. Yeah, uh,
I don't know. I mean, it was
yeah,
quite informative talking to her, and some bits were right, and she didn't. But yeah, let's just. I think with everything that's going to happen, it's just better just to get on with it, be positive, and just see what's going to happen, and whatever happens, just deal with it.
yeah. That's all you can do. I mean, something. I mean, because that's interesting. Going back to the Tony Robbins thing, I remember one of his things. I saw a podcast of his once, and he said, "Never, never. You can only control the things that you can control. So, like if the economy is going to crash, if like outside circumstances, don't worry about, or try not to worry about it, because at the end of the day, there's nothing really you yourself can do about it. Just control what you can control, and yeah, you can't. That too many people get locked. They're stressed about stuff that they can't control.
He's. I definitely want to read some of his books. I put a list of them because I was been watching a few podcasts, and they say sometimes if you really want to learn something from someone, read their book, because they put all their 10, 20 years of study into a book.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can.
yeah. The book I read was very good because it's just how he teaches you how to like a lot of it is about how you is your attitude to things. That's the way he describes it. So it's like how you look at things. So and it's basically that. I mean, that's the one of the main principles behind it. But yeah, no, I can't remember what it's called, but it was quite an old thing because he referred to stuff like O.J. Simpson. It was clearly before O.J. Simpson got done. Well, O.J. was never done for murder, but he went to trial. It was clearly before that because he was using O.J. Simpson as an example, and nobody would use O.J. now as an example of success. Which before O.J. he was a proper American success story, and then yeah, then it all went downhill after. It was like Oscar Pistorius. It was a success story, and then it just went all downhill afterwards.
Yeah, with Oscar Pistorius, there's a lot of stories around him, and like there's a lot that hasn't been handled. And basically, I think he got away with it. I think it was sort of he was pissed off or something, and he was like, in a moment of anger, he was deliberate.
I definitely. Well, I mean, he's still in jail, isn't he? I don't know when he's getting out, but he's still in jail, so they didn't completely get away with it. But I know, I think he was definitely. I mean, because I think they said that they believed his story that it was accidental, but I mean, my opinion is no, he knew what he was doing. I mean, I mean, yeah, I get accidentally shooting somebody, but you wake up in the middle of the night and your girlfriend's not in the bed. It's like, whereas if you wake up in the if and especially and she went because one of the stories was early on was that that because she didn't live with him, that it was that she surprised him. So yeah, I could believe that, but they went to bed together that night. I mean, if you got up in the middle of the night and you thought there was an intruder, first thing you'd do is check where your girlfriend was if she wasn't in bed with you.
Yeah, it's mental. It's one of the things that I'm gonna show you something quickly. I'm gonna share my screen with you. This is a guy, and I think you should watch him. And yeah, for the one person that's probably watching this back home, there's a guy that I really he's the guy that I maybe want to speak to as well, James Janney, and I find him quite interesting because
Oh wow.
I stumbled across it, but he did something about the toxic world of self-help. And what he says is, he
Yeah.
says, with a lot of these self-help things, they don't want you to get better. They want you to get addicted by their products.
Just finished a normal day of school.
Yeah. Well, that's why I take some of this stuff with a. I mean, I've never spent like. I mean, you buy the odd book, but yeah, like when they get you on the, like, that's why I say, like, I know what you mentioned with Tony Robbins. You wouldn't go to those seminars. I mean, I wouldn't either. I mean, because they charge you like a lot. It's like thousands and stuff. So yeah, yeah, you can become. I mean, like, because you see some of these people who like have all these like self-help books, and it's like, well, yeah, at some point, I think, oh yeah, I saw a podcast, and it's like, yeah, there's one guy said, yeah, stop trying to fix yourself, just go out and be yourself, because people can get involved in that culture, like they're constantly trying to fix themselves, where it's like, well, yeah, we're all a bit damaged in some way. It's like we're human beings. That's part of being a human being.
Yeah. But it's also sort of proceeding. It's like with a lot of marketing courses. You've seen on Facebook all these marketing, all these podcasts, all these other thick courses. They try and say, "Oh, we're going to solve all your problems," like that. And a lot of it goes under the saying, "If it's too good to be true, it usually is." And it's people that do that are expecting whatever issues they have or whatever faults and whatever, they're expecting it to be done easily, when that's not true at all. And as with anything in life, I think there's got to be a lot of struggle, a lot of doubt, and then some of our problems we solve, and then it feels good. But it doesn't just get solved just by throwing money at it and just like a flick of the switch.
No, not at all. No, it's like it's discipline. Well, I mean, yeah, it's 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 also like with some of these things. Also, they probably they're going to give you techniques and stuff, which is fine. That's probably good. But then a lot of people, I think, will, and it's probably, to do those techniques, you probably have to stick to them daily. You're going to have to get into them. And as you say, it's not a flicking switches. It's like if you want to play tennis. You know, you can read a book about playing tennis, but if you want to get good at it, you don't just read a book about playing tennis. You actually have to get out and play tennis. And you might have to be a bit bad at it for a little while, and you might have to be a bit rubbish, but you carry on doing it, and then you'll get better at it. But you don't, yeah, as you say, you don't just read a book and, light bulb, I'm good at tennis. Like, no, you got to actually get out and play tennis.
That's what, and it's actually the one thing I do want to learn from them is their bloody sales techniques, how they're able to convince people. That's what you should try and learn from these things.
Yeah. Oh, did you ever watch Dexter?
Oh, it's a great series. I didn't see all of it, but I saw
Okay.
It's amazing. It's good.
Yeah, because one of the later seasons, there's one of these guys like a well, I won't ruin it for you, but there's one of these guys who's like a motivational speaker. But it was one, because I think there were 8 seasons. I think it was one of the later ones. It was certainly after season 4, because I don't know if you've seen season 4, but there's a big turning point in season 4. It was certainly after that. But yeah, it's one of these one of these motivational speakers, all these crowds, and yeah, it's quite an interesting twist in the story there. So yeah, worth watching.
No, tell me, what's the thing? It's
But okay, but no. But then what if the other people watching and they've got Dexter on their to watch list? You know, I hate ruining things for people. I've had it done to me.
No, it's fine. Come on, there's not going to be many people watching it. There's maybe 1 or 2. And if it does get a lot of views, Gareth, I'll split it with you.
Okay, disclaimer. Anybody who has not watched Dexter after season 4, close your ears. Okay, so basically, what happens? I think it's one of the later seasons, season 6 or season 7. Dexter befriends this woman who, I think he rescues. It's one of these guys is going to kill, and he rescues this woman, and she's been held captive by one of these like psychos. But then it turns out this guy's got links to a motivational speaker. And this motivational speaker is part of a cult of people who are killing people. So yeah, and then that becomes one of Dexter's next missions, to get rid of this guy.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, disclaimer over. Okay, well, no, wait, I'll carry on. I won't end the disclaimer yet.
I mean, Tony Robbins is a very clever man, and I think if you really want to get in what he knows, and if you want to get his help, you'd have to do a one-on-one session with him. And he pays, like, they cost a lot of money. You'd have to do 10 or 21 of them to really gain stuff from him, because the other stuff is probably, I don't know, but he's a clever man to do what he does, and it's basically a bit like, self-help and all that is a bit like a drug.
I think so, yeah.
Because they get that dopamine thing, and then they want to buy the next product, and then.
Well, yeah, because especially if you go there and you've got these guys, and especially like Tony Robbins, he's like, a lot of them, they got that feel-good factor. So you go in there and like, it's like, well, okay, you go in there and you crowds of people and they're getting you up and you're singing, and it's like, yeah, we're in it, and then then you've had that for like a couple of days. Then you go back to your normal life, and it's like, well, it's your normal life, isn't it? So
Yeah.
you want another hit, man. It's like it's like freaking train spotting, yeah, man. I need another hit.
You know what? It's a bit like the most expensive cocaine, or what's it called? Yeah, crystal meth or something. Like someone could get that through Cancun, going out partying and meeting women and doing all that, and that
Yeah,
for a whole week, and get the same enjoyment for cheap.
yeah,
But they're just, yeah. And it's ironic. So I watched this program on Netflix. Some of the people that are on there are drug addicts, so of course they're going to keep going.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. What is this about? A motivational speaker?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. What's it called?
No, it's Tony Robbins' thing on Netflix.
Oh, it's Tony Robbins. Oh, has he got a thing on Netflix? Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
all right so far. It looks good. I don't know what to make of Tony Robbins. If he's a good person or if he's that. It's. I think he's in between. I'd say he's in between.
Yeah, I suppose we all. He probably does have a skeleton or two. I mean, yeah. I mean, look, it's like with all these guys. You don't like. I think you can take their principles, but if you start like worshiping them, then yeah, and you let it dictate your life. It's like anything in life. You take good points and bad points, and and you make your own mind up, and you take. I mean, it's like any human being. You can take. I mean, it's like an entertainer, and it's like, oh, it's particularly I hate entertainers and celebrities. Used to start preaching to you. It's like, well, no, like about how do you live your life? They're like, no, you're there to entertain me. Like I don't need you to tell me I'm a bad person or who I should vote for. It's like, yeah, fair enough if you want to go and do good in the world and you want to give to good causes, but don't tell me, don't preach to me. And that's why I think with celebrities, it's like, yeah, you can enjoy their movies, but sometimes you don't take their life literally. You enjoy, it's like Tom Cruise. Yeah, I enjoy his movies, but I'm not going to become a Scientologist because I enjoy Top Gun. It's like,
Yeah.
if you want to become a Scientologist, each to their own. It's just not my thing.
It's well, it's a bit like there's a lot of misconceptions in the world. I mean, that's an understatement, but it's a bit like one thing I found funny with the left and with America and with the UK is the left. Look, you lost Brexit, you lost to Trump, and you did the same thing again, and you're doing the same thing again. Like what's it called? Ed Miliband lost to David Cameron.
Yeah.
Then what's it called? Corbyn lost against Boris, and then they're losing again, and they're still doing the same tactic of trying to force people to think a certain way. And one of the things that people are saying is that people on the left, one thing they keep doing is they keep on trying to say, oh, if you voted the other way, you're this or you're that, and so they're preventing any discourse. And that's one thing that I've heard from a lot of podcasts. Not all of them,
Definitely.
obviously, but it's too
No,
much.
it's not also. No. There's like a faction. I mean, it's not all. Yeah, but there, I know what you mean. There is a faction. And I mean, like, yeah, don't like. I mean, like, what did Hillary Clinton do? She called Trump voters stupid. It's like, well, yeah, that's your electoral. I mean, yeah, I mean, look at. I mean, and Boris got like what those all those working class heartlands. I mean, that red wall. I mean, and he's a posh Etonian. I mean, for people. I mean, those people had never. I mean, for them, like Tory was like a curse word. It was a swear word, and then then not only do they vote Tory, they vote for like the most posh. I mean, he's an Italian. It's not like he's a working class Tory. He's a
Yeah.
so. I mean, I mean, so you have a point with what you say. I mean, to be driven to do that, it takes something.
Yeah, it's a bit like someone's so devoted to their religion that they try and force it onto you. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, you're right. It's a bit like Christian and Islamic extremists. They're so dedicated to what they believe that they close themselves off on the other side, and then they do horrible things. And that's maybe also happening with the right as well, like with the extreme right and the extreme left. There's a
Yeah, no, it's like a religion. You hit the nail on the head. Yeah, it's like those extreme religions where I mean, because I know I've had it. We used to get it like growing up in in South Africa. Like you're either with God or you're against God, and it's like and you've got to live a certain way, and it's like, well, and you also have to, like, whereas for me, I mean, I'm not religious at all. I mean, I was born Methodist, but I would
Yeah.
probably consider myself agnostic. I mean, I'm open to the idea of religion. I agree with the basic principles of it. With most religions, like, you live a good life, you're good to people, you go to a better place when you pass. But yeah, like some of these, like, we used to get a lot of it's like, I mean, because I think if I was religious, I'd like to think it would be a personal thing. You shouldn't be forcing other people. It should be a personal thing. Like, you have that relationship with your God or whatever, and you shouldn't have to force other people to do it. I mean, yeah, if they're interested in it, then you can tell them about it, and you say, this is what I do. And I think that would they would win a lot more people that way. Because say, if you look at somebody who's, like, say, a Christian or a Muslim, and you think, okay, they live a really good life, I want some of that. Whereas when people throw stuff at you, you're like, well, no, it's like, I don't want to be like that, so I'm not buying what you're selling.
Mm. It's yeah, and they say that it works with those that are converted, but not those that aren't. And it's a bit, it's the thing is, I keep hearing it, like, before I went to France, people were saying, "Oh, those stupid idiots! Those idiots." They, as if everyone was agreeing with them that voted Tory or whatever. But it's a bit like, you don't know who's on the tube. They may have voted another way, and
Yeah,
they did a big loud voice, and it was so, it's so arrogant. Not look like it's, I don't like it. The whole, when with that sort of thing, and yeah, you got to have people on both sides, and it's a bit like,
no,
yeah.
yeah, I think that's the problem. I think we lost. Like, we don't talk to one another anymore. I think people, like, it's getting worse now. Like, I mean, especially, well, I don't know. Hopefully it's just like with this whole George Floyd thing. It's hopefully, I mean, I'm thinking possibly it's like all the reactions probably just. I think probably lockdown has a part to do with it, because people have just been locked down for so long, so they've needed to get out there. But yeah, hopefully it calms down now, because it just does seem like people are splitting off into camps, and I don't think that's good.
I mean, it's a bit strange if you get a comedian who's doing a joke on right wing or something, and then he's going to get attacked for it. But then there's no listening. There's no, it's just mental. I think it's gone too far the other way. Like, just, you don't need to. It's like, you're not. I'm not going to beat someone up for supporting Manchester United, or say that I don't like Man United and necessarily the whole thing. I don't agree with it, but I'm not going to beat anyone up for it or really say
No.
this and that about it. It's it's mental. It's people not challenging misconceptions. It's a bit like, I don't know. Do you get does South Africa have, that was Zimbabwe or other nations that people? I mean, you being from South Africa and me being from England, there's a lot of people that have pre-assumed assumptions.
Or what about South Africa? Yeah, I mean, I get, well, like, I get that. I get that. I mean, we've got a tainted past, but then, yeah, so do a lot of countries. But yeah, no, I sort of, I I get it. But they're saying, I think we all we all prejudge. Like, it's a natural thing. We all do it. Like, I'm taking race and politics out of it now. It's like when you see somebody, you like walking in the street. Most times you automatically make a judgment about them, but then and then often, I mean, if you speak to them, you might have your judgments confirmed, but then you might not. You might speak to them and you're like, oh, okay, And I think, um, yeah, I mean, there's nothing necessarily wrong with prejudging people, but because I think that's where a lot of our instincts come. That's how we take care of ourselves. But you also, you've got to. I think you've also got to. There are times when you need to have an open mind and you need to, speak to people.
What are some misconceptions you sometimes get from people being from South Africa as a whole?
What about me
Yeah.
personally?
And like, what people said to you, or like,
I've been quite lucky. I've never really been labeled. I mean, I've had it when people have made Well, what I don't like, I have reacted at times when I've been in the workplace when people have when they've got they're very opinionated, and if they're opinionated, that's fine. But when they have opinions about, like, particularly about South Africa, and I'm like, well, have you been there? Like, no. Well, fine. Like, it's like if 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 I was opinionated about in front of a Northern Irish person about, like, say, the troubles in Northern Ireland, they would not like that. And I think it's, and I yeah, I think it's the same. And the same. I mean, yeah, the only thing I've had is where I remember once, uh, some somebody was carrying on about, I think, because there was a quote that Margaret Thatcher once said. She called Nelson Mandela a terrorist, I think, when he was in jail. So then somebody was saying, oh, she called Mandela a terrorist. Oh, this is all wrong. So I said, well, you know, technically he was a terrorist. Well, see, the way I see it is, terrorist and a freedom fighter, it's the same thing. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. And I mean, at the end of the day, I think a lot of people, that they have this idea that Nelson Mandela went to jail purely because of the color of his skin. Now, that was a big
Mm.
part of it, but he also, what the ANC were doing, they were letting off bombs, they were bombing people, uh, and I get why they were doing, and I get why they were doing it. I probably would have, had I been in their position, I would have done the same thing. But there was bloodshed, and I think people forget about that. So, and yeah, and I'm not slagging off Nelson Mandela. Like, Nelson Mandela was the best thing for South Africa. He saved South Africa. I mean, particularly to go away 27 years, come out, and he was ready. He was ready to forgive. I don't think there'd be another human being who would do that. So, I mean, he saved South Africa, but he did things, and I get why he did it. But I think people don't get that full story. They just assume he went. People went to jail because, I mean, because of because of the color of their skin, which it was a big part of it. But there were bombs going off, and like any terrorist organization, people getting caught in the crossfire with a lot of their followers too. So, but I see why they did it. They probably needed to do it. If they didn't do it, then you know the the rest of the world, and probably the South African government at the time wouldn't have taken notice. That we wouldn't have gone onto the path that we are now. So.
Mm. It's no, but it's still not. I mean, things were much worse, but I mean, things were way more racist before than they are now. I mean, what's it called?
We're in South Africa, or generally.
Not just the whole world. I mean, things were so. I mean, it's great that in South Africa, you got Brian Habana, one of the best rugby players of all time. Would that happen if it was a few years ago?
Oh
And
no,
you got,
definitely not. No.
I mean, what happened with George Floyd was ridiculous, and it's just the thing is, things were a lot. Yeah, it's going to take a while before things get proper equal and stuff like that. And it's even myself being an Asian, and I know one thing that always that's interesting with me is that when people that look like me are racist to other ethnic minorities, and then the other way around, that's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
That bits, because we're all minorities here. What's the point? And in America, it's ridiculous. There's a big I watched the documentary, there's a big war between the black gorilla family, which is the black inmates in American jails, and the Mexican mafia. There's a big war between them. And what they've done is they've ordered Spanish gangs in LA to kill people just based on the color of their skin.
Fucking hell, man.
What is that all? You're both minorities. What's going on here?
But that's also in South Africa. Another yeah. You talk about misconceptions. Like, obviously South Africa, there's a lot of, well, we have a history of racism. So black and white, but then even within black, there's a lot of tribalism. Because, like, in South Africa, you have so many different tribes. Well, the two big ones are the Zulu and the Xhosa, but there's a lot of warfare between them. So yeah, so there's a lot of, I mean, and people don't know that. I mean, they so
Yeah,
so within that you've got that. And then even well, it wasn't so bad when I grew up, but then in with amongst white people, you have English speaking people like me, and then you have Afrikaners. And I mean, yeah, there used to be, like, back in the day, there'd be a lot of tension between those groups. I mean, and that goes back to, because the Afrikaans people of Dutch heritage, and the Dutch were there first. But then also, I mean, you've heard of the Anglo-Boer War.
No.
Okay, the Anglo-Boer War, that was between the Dutch and the British settlers, and I mean there were two of them, but the whole thing. There's also another thing people don't know, the first people to use concentration camps. It wasn't Hitler in Nazi Germany. It was the British in South Africa with the Afrikaners, with the Dutch settlers. They were in the Anglo-Boer War. They put them like in these camps, the women and children. So yeah, so for years there was a lot. So if you're an English-speaking South African with Africans, there was a lot of tension because of that historically. Um, with there was tension. So just, yeah, amongst those two groups with that.
I think people just want an excuse to hate sometimes, because that's what you get with the football hooliganism. They just want an excuse to fight. And then it's funny, like we have in the LA, you have the Bloods and the Crips, like proper hating each other and killing each other. But you're both the same sort of racial minority. You're both in a struggle. Why are you fighting each other? Work together. And it's a bit like,
Mate, it's crazy. It's cultural. It's like these cultural. Like, yeah, this tribalism. It's what it is. It's like this people in their tribes. I mean,
yeah, it's the same everywhere.
yeah, no, terrible.
And
yeah, sorry, carry on.
No, but that's what's happening, isn't it? That at the moment, there's the big tribalism between the left and the right. It is a tribe. It's just that they're not killing each other as much.
Yeah, no, they're just killing each other on social media, and yeah, I don't know. Yeah, jumping on what's her face? Who's J.K. Rowling? I mean, she's the latest one who's in trouble. But I mean, she's openly left, isn't she? I mean, but I don't know. It's all getting weird.
And the lockdowns made it worse because people are angry and paranoid. And they've got nothing else better to do.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I think a lot of these things have been so much worse. Like like with the protests here in America. I think it's people have just been frustrated. They need to vent, and so they just go out. I mean, like last weekend. Like those guys. I think some of those guys they just wanted some of them just wanted to fight, man. They've been locked indoors for 3 months. Like, okay, get rid of some excess testosterone or something. I don't know.
Yeah. There needs to be more gyms. I tell you what, if Boris wants to help the country, put homemade gyms in every household with all the equipment for people to work out, have a set regime, give them all the correct diets, get boxing trainers for every house, let everyone all the rubbish out.
Yeah, man, just get a freaking punching bag, man. You have a few hours on that, man. Get rid of your aggression, and you'll be proper worn out, physically worn out.
And one thing I've never understood is why governments don't make drugs legal. Because, I mean, this is a controversial topic. I don't take drugs, but it's a bit like, wouldn't it be better if the money got paid into governments rather than bloody?
Yeah, I'm sort of on the fence there. I mean, I'm not a drug user, but I don't look down on people that are. I mean, I mean, because I enjoy a drink. Although I'm not a big party animal. I enjoy a quite social beer, but I look at it, and you look at alcohol, and if a lot of these drugs that people take, are they any worse than if you binge drinking on alcohol? Are they? I mean, I don't know. For me, I think it's a discussion that needs to be had. I think the problem is I think people do need to sit around a table and talk about it, and maybe look at the evidence. And I think possibly, maybe they do need to legalize it. But I do see the other side of the argument. The thing is, once you legalize it, you can't ban it. Once it's legal, so once you decide, like, say for instance, you make cocaine legal, you can't ban it. So I think once you go down that path, then you've gone down that path. It's very difficult to ban it afterwards. So I think that's the only So that's why I think I'm sort of with you, but I think they need to have a proper discussion first. But at least have the discussion. Nobody's talking. I don't think anybody's really talking about it. It's just like, well, drugs are banned and that's it. Whereas I think they should, have a chat about it, research it, and
Yeah, people got to talk, but there needs to be security, I think.
yeah. And as you say, it would be good tax revenue. Yeah.
I'd stop being a comedian, eh? No. So I'm sure you got to head off, and I've got to have dinner in a bit. And I thought we've spoken for about an hour and a half, man. That's gone on.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's gone
Good.
quickly.
It's been a good chat. But I've got what I'm going to make as a theme for the show is I want to ask. There's two questions I'm going to ask you. One question I was going to ask is, what is a quote that you live your life by? And two, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Okay, so quote I live by. Okay, the one that's just come to the top of my head. There are probably millions of them. Can't remember who said it. I think it may have been John Kerwin. He used to play rugby for New Zealand. But it's something. I haven't got the exact words right, but it says a champion, somebody who gets up even when he can't.
What's it called? It's like the Rocky speech. It's not how hard you hit, it's how hard
Something
you
like that.
hit.
I don't know where the exact quote is, but he says it's like basically when you're lying on the field and you're feeling dead and you can't give anymore. It's like that's a champion. There's like somebody who gets up even when he can't.
And yeah, what advice would you give to your future self? I mean, so not your future self, your past, your younger self.
My younger self, maybe take a little more risks, be a little bit more open. Do challenge myself a bit more. Particularly when I was younger, like I was talking like with the comedy thing. I only really got into that in my that was 9 years ago now. So I'm 44 now. So what I was 35. Whereas if I'd started doing more of that stuff maybe when I was younger, just putting myself out there when I was maybe a teenager, but not be so self-conscious.
And what's a big life lesson that you'd like to give people? What's the biggest life lesson you've learned?
Biggest life lesson I've learned. I'd say try and be positive. And it sounds like a cliche, and I mean I think we all make this mistake, but I know when sometimes when you're feeling down, when you've gone through something bad in life, and you just think life's not gonna get good again. It will get good again, and life goes in circles. You have good days and bad days, and I think you have to accept. In fact, no, I wouldn't be positive. I think it's accept the bad with the good. Accept the bad with the good.
Yeah, that's a good life lesson too. That's good. That's good. Yeah, it is a thing that we all go to. You got to be indifferent. It's that poem, If, isn't it? What's it? Kipling. What's his name?
Rudyard Kipling. Yeah.
Yeah, he goes, if you can meet those triumph and disaster just the same, if you can do this and that or whatever, you'll be a man, my son.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, look it up. But
I'll do it now. Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a good chat, Gareth. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too, Marvin. Yeah, definitely. And I'll see you virtually in a Zoom room, or hopefully before that on a stage sometime.
Yeah, hopefully see you on the stage sometime. Take care, and I'll see you soon.
Yeah, cool. Take care, Marvin.